A CNN News 18 exclusive story broken right here and now, of course, picked up by many others. Day after the Mumbai Civic debacle, the Congress has hit the panic button. In Karnataka, EVMs are out. Yes, EVMs, those machines that register our votes, have been scrapped. Ballot papers of yore are back. Years of painstaking electoral reform appear to have been casually junked. Why? Because the Congress has a problem with the Election Commission. You can see in the middle of your screens, last year, Rahul Gandhi unfurling a sheaf of papers suggesting that the Election Commission was colluding with the BJP to steal the Congress's votes. And because the Congress has a problem with the EC, and therefore by extension the reliability of the EVMs, they've decided that for the Bengaluru Municipal Corporation, it will be a paper ballot election. Now viewers, other states waiting in the wings of the opposition could do quite the same. They could also tomorrow say that we don't want EVMs. We want to go back to the period of paper ballots. Now viewers, here is the Congress's rationale. Erosion of credibility, it says, and public trust in EVMs. EVM fraud and electoral manipulation. Ballot will reduce voter roll vulnerabilities. What have the two got to do with each other, viewers? I don't know, but still. VVPATs are not present at all booths. As if, viewers, you're going to get a VVPAT from somebody who's cast a paper ballot. Developed nations conduct polls using paper ballots. Viewers, very few do. Very few. Yet the irony is staggering. Surveys commissioned by Karnataka's own Chief Electoral Officer show overwhelming trust in EVMs. Trust that has actually increased after the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. 84.55% believe elections are free and fair in India. This is a survey that was conducted by the Karnataka CEO. 83.61% trust EVMs post 2024 Lok Sabha elections. Trust in EVMs has increased from 77.9% to 83.61% in a matter of 2 years. Survey by NGO Gram for Karnataka's Chief Electoral Officer, published by Karnataka government's Monitoring and Evaluation Authority, viewers. So this was published by a Karnataka government ministry. And history offers a warning, viewers, that the Congress is forgetting. Goa's experiment with paper ballots produced confusion, a spike in invalid votes, and rejected ballots exceeding winning margins in multiple seats. 50 seats. Poll across 50 seats were conducted entirely by paper ballots. BJP won 29 out of those 50 seats, became the single largest party in the House. However, high number of invalid votes exceeded winning margins in 5 seats. Large count of invalid ballots in multiple constituencies. Rejected votes exceeded winning margins in 5 constituencies. Invalid votes arose from incorrect stamping and multiple marks. Sudden switch to ballots confused older voters. This is what the Goa State Election Commission said. Difficulty with ballot papers, concerns for everyone, the candidates were saying. And viewers, I'll take you back to Chandigarh a few years back, when there was an important mayoral election that was taking place. And there too ballot papers were used. And guess what, viewers? The Congress, the AAP, the BJP, everyone was crying foul. Now, what makes this rollback even more striking is Congress's own record. The same party once called scrapping EVMs a return to the dark ages. The same leaders who defended electronic voting as essential to free and fair elections are now quiet when their own government in Karnataka, in a cabinet meeting, has said we are going to go ahead with the use of these dark age mechanisms, viewers. Viewers, the Congress is not questioning after receiving some evidence. It is questioning after having been defeated in election after election, specifically in the last 18 months. In July 2009, Abhishek Manu Singhvi, erudite Congress MP, came out and said abolition of EVMs takes us back to the dark ages. In May 2012, when someone again raised this issue, Manish Tiwari says, stretch of imagination to scrap EVMs and revert to ballot. And viewers, let me also tell you, it's not as if after EVMs have been around, Congress was on some massive winning spree. It had dwindled as a force after EVMs were introduced in any case. Other parties other than the BJP were doing well. For those that may have forgotten, the move to EVMs was backed by all parties on some very credible grounds. EVMs run on batteries, need no external power, vote is cast with a button, avoids invalid votes, EVM limits 4 votes per minute, prevents booth capturing. Otherwise, you can stuff a ballot paper, ballot box viewers with several papers at one go. Voters confirms vote via beep and 7-second display. I mean, there are many reasons. I don't really need to go into this. It's not a civics class, but the fact is, and these big questions naturally follow. Is this about protecting democracy or protecting political fortune and reputation, specifically of one man? Is the problem with the machine or the mascot that they field in election after election? Is this reform or a convenient bahana, so to speak, to stop the BJP? And most importantly, is Congress undoing the system because it failed them or because voters didn't choose them? Let's go and ask these fundamental questions, and I want to begin first with Suhail Seth and Dr. Ranganathan. In that order, Suhail Seth, look, we're all for fair, free elections. Who doesn't want free and fair elections? Everyone thought that by pressing the button in a booth, on a machine, we'd eradicated significantly a lot of malpractices. Now the Congress says, no, I'm sorry. The EVM itself is, has a mind of its own, can be manipulated. The EC itself is a rogue organization. So let's go back to a more tried and tested scheme of things, the ballot paper. How do you respond to this, sir?
So here's the thing. When I last checked, the Congress is in government in Karnataka. They're in government in Telangana. The easiest thing for them to do would be to resign en masse, because if those governments were elected using EVMs, and if EVMs are devilish, demonic, and they've been disparaged beyond repair, you can't have partial pregnancy, Rahul. You can't say that when I win, the EVM is good. When I lose, the EVM is a disaster. So they've got to take a decision on what is their fundamental belief in EVMs. Number one. Number two, it's not as if the entire country is raring to vote for the Congress based on a switch of electoral systems or electoral equipment. This constant degradation of institutions in India needs to stop. The Congress needs to grow up. You can't keep crying wolf and playing the victim card only when you lose. Either you be consistent and say we will not take part in any Indian election which uses the EVM. And let me tell you, if they were to do that, that would go down as a strategic warring signal. But you can't say that when we win, these EVMs are fine. But when we lose, there's something drastically wrong and let's switch. Because in the process, you're doing three things. Number one, you are creating institutional incredibility. You're making it incredulous. Number two, you're forcing the voters to believe that there is something palpably wrong with our electoral system, which means our democracy is flawed. Number three, you are misleading the cadres by actually not going to the root of the problem. See, if I were Rahul Gandhi, in first place, I would have accepted that we screwed up or the party screwed up. You have never taken the blame on yourself. When the Congress wins, it's Rahul's win. When it loses, it's poor Kharge's loss. So when the going is good, everything is fine. When the going is bad, then suddenly everything about the institutions of India is wrong. And my final opening point, Rahul, is Abhishek Singhvi, who you quoted in your opening remarks, when I last checked, is a congressman. He's a formidable lawyer. You have recourse to the courts in this country. Go to the Supreme Court. Let the Supreme Court do what it wishes to do. And then tell the Supreme Court that we believe that this process of elections is flawed for A, B, C, D reasons. And therefore, we ask the Supreme Court to direct the Election Commission to flip from EVMs to ballot papers. Till then, don't cry, introspect. It's a far better way of sorting out the problems that are inherently plaguing the Congress party.
So, Doctor, let me bring you in on this before I open it up to the two political extremes. Doctor, the reasons are ballot will reduce voter roll vulnerabilities. That's been mentioned. And also, of course, that there is an EVM fraud and electoral manipulation as a result of all of this, which is what they want to get away from. We also have, of course, a Karnataka government survey, a state government survey, and I think I've read out those results for you. I think you probably know them well. But I can't understand, therefore, how getting ballot papers, for example, will lead to VVPATs and will lead to the end of voter roll vulnerabilities. Could you explain this to me? I'm very confused.
Good evening, Rahul, and good evening to my fellow panelists. Look, in order to make sense of Rahul Gandhi, you have to be from the same planet as he comes from, and it isn't Earth. Trust me, if Congress lost the election that was held on ballot paper, the first thing Rahul Gandhi would do is to blame the quality of the paper on which the ballot was drafted. This is crazy. And, I'm not very sure right now, but I'm looking at, I think, Paul versus the state, this November 2024 judgment. You have my very good friend Nikhil Jain, who's a lawyer. The Supreme Court has ratified, and Supreme Court has actually said that we must not go back to the ballot paper. So in doing so, the Congress government has possibly violated and is in contempt of the Supreme Court order itself. It has, in the last 3 years, literally thrown out and fined the petitioners who said we must return to ballot boxes, Paul being the notable example. He was an evangelist who went to Supreme Court. So they are violating not just common sense and rationality, they are violating Supreme Court guidelines, not just on not using the ballot paper, but on vociferously ratifying the EVMs and the VVPATs. Did you know what the Supreme Court said on VVPAT? I mean, you have Nikhil as a lawyer, you have Pradeep here, you have, my good friend Sohail. Supreme Court said till now, not a single bona fide discrepancy has been found out in the VVPAT match. Not one. There has been not a single instance of a proven mala fide using the EVMs. Yes, you have bogus EVMs and all those stories that have been circulating for donkey's years. But please, for heaven's sake, and last but not least, because time is of the essence, I would like to play this clip of, till today, at least, he is in the Congress. And when he said this, he was an exalted minister of the Congress government. Here is Shashi Tharoor admitting live on camera that the Congress rigged the ballot paper 1987 elections of Jammu and Kashmir.
Elections of 87 were a huge mistake, and they were rigged undoubtedly, and undoubtedly this was certainly one of the mistakes that sparked off the disillusionment of some young people who then became militants.
There we go. And this is why they want to return to ballot papers, because then they would have a semblance chance of winning some elections because they would rig it.
So, okay, so for a moment, Nikhil Jain, let's suspend belief, because when we speak about Rahul Gandhi, we have to do that, as Dr. Ranganathan has instructed us. So, for a moment, let's suspend belief and let's ask a simple question. One of the reasons is that ballots will reduce voter roll vulnerabilities. And one of the reasons moving away from EVMs is because VVPATs are not present at all booths. So, can you explain, sir? Again, suspending belief, because once we suspend belief, I'll believe you verbatim. Anything you say, I will believe. So I'm suspending belief. I want you to answer these two questions. How will using ballot paper reduce voter roll vulnerabilities, which is what Rahul Gandhi is militating against day after day, right? And secondly, VVPATs, he says, are not present at all booths. So we have a reason to believe that the person who's actually voting is not the person who's voting. You understand what I'm saying? So how does somebody prove an identity even if they are voting with a ballot paper? Can you explain this to me, sir?
Great question.
First of all, Rahul, I'll explain the very most basic point that has been overlooked so far, that the decision is not by the Congress government in Karnataka. It is by the State Election Commission, which is an independent constitutional body. It is not run by the Congress government. It is not appointed by the Congress government. It is an independent body, as supposedly is the Election Commission of India. First of all, that this decision was taken after consultation with the regular stakeholders, with the concerned stakeholders, which would also include the BJP in Karnataka. Thirdly, you talked about the Chandigarh mayoral elections and how they were conducted by ballot papers, and the Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress went about crying foul on it. You forgot to mention that the BJP worker Anil Masi, who was appointed as the presiding officer, had rigged those elections, and he received a rebuke from the Supreme Court, and the decision of the election of the presiding officer was overturned. Thirdly, Mr. Seth says that, you should boycott the elections if you really don't believe in the EVMs. Now, I remember a couple of months ago, there were rumors that the RJD was contemplating of boycotting the Bihar elections. And everybody, all the cheerleaders of the BJP went around saying, oh, they want the Bangladesh route. In 2015, the opposition in Bangladesh boycotted the elections, and that created civil unrest and this and that. And lastly, Dr. Ranganathan pointed out a great Congress leader.
1 minute. 1 minute. Since you have made that point, and I normally believe you to be reasonably logical and quite intelligent.
Now, you see what Suhail said hasn't done is suspended belief.
Oranges.
Suspended belief.
You see, the moment you suspend belief, forget about the electoral officer.
Whichever party said we will not stand for election, and some joker said, oh, you're Bangladesh and all, how is it relevant?
None of the three answers are relevant to the two questions I asked. I said, okay, let's suspend belief. As I told you,
you invent a better mousetrap, or you invent a better mouse. You're not capable of inventing nothing except deceit. You either invent a better mousetrap, or you invent a better mouse. You can't have it both ways. I'm asking you a simple question, Nikhil. I'm asking you a simple question. Karnataka and Telangana governments
and Himachal
were formed using the same, and Himachal using the same electoral process. What's good for the goose is good for the... I don't want to spell it out for you because you're sharp. So my point very simply to ask you is, how can you have partial pregnancy? On the one hand, you're happy. On the other hand, you're bitter. When you lose, you're bitter. When you win, it's Rahul Gandhi. Now you decide, yeah, and you're a reasonable man, and you're not even suspended from the Congress party, even though you may be in suspended animation. So you answer this, my friend, from a logical prism. And I love the smile. It means you're a happy man, unlike most of these guys who are always bitter to death and remind me of dark chocolate. Never mind.
Mr. Seth, so this point remains simple, that whenever any political stakeholder is raising doubts on the authenticity or the complete rightness of the electoral process, doesn't mean they have to out and out boycott it. And you say that it is only after you lose at this point.
No. See, I told you. Suhail said you made a big mistake.
I know suppose you're in class with me, and I know you're a cheat.
No. Suhail said, you see, you made the big mistake. I deal with Nikhil Jain. Dr. Ranganathan deals with him on a daily basis. Pradeep Bhandari deals with him on a daily basis. We go up against him on a daily basis. And we have made the mistake of taking him seriously. So the moment you suspend belief, and then you ask the question, okay, so hang on, Mr. Jain, all those points that you made conceded. Let's for a moment concede. I want to ask you, fine, you've come up with a solution, and the cabinet of Karnataka approved this, by the way. So this has not just happened out of the ordinary. So
Nikhil Jain, recommendation of the cabinet.
Nikhil Jain,
it was a recommendation of the cabinet.
So it was, right?
So
that's
but a recommendation by the Karnataka cabinet.
Yes, that is why.
Cabinet has recommended. And who is in the cabinet?
That is why the SEC, that is why the Karnataka SEC has gone ahead. Now, hang on, just a minute. See.
He was trying to obfuscate.
Okay, yes, of course. No, skate, not obfuscate. He was just skating, free skating on thin ice. So now let me ask you.
How come when the State Election Commission...
No, one second. Can you just answer two questions, sir? Two questions. Okay, Nikhil bhai, please. Just answer two questions. I have suspended belief. Suhail said, I urge you to suspend belief twice a day, 2 insertions twice a day, and you'll be fine. Here it is. I want to ask you. ballot papers will reduce voter roll vulnerabilities. Can you explain how this will happen, sir?
That is, first of all, I'm not a spokesperson for the State
Okay.
Election Commission,
Now,
so
viewers,
that's not for me
comes
to
the
answer.
answer. I'm not a spokesperson. This is what the Karnataka cabinet says, that we will use paper ballots so that we can reduce voter roll vulnerabilities. Now, viewers, these are two separate issues, processes. It's like taking, I don't know, something for piles when the pain is in your mouth. I mean, that's what it is. It's just completely, you might think that you're taking something for, a part of your anatomy, which is very far removed from the problem. This is what is happening.
And the 2015 Bangalore Civic polls, the 2015 Bangalore polls were conducted through EVMs. And who formed the government there?
Who formed the government?
It was Congress.
It was Congress. Congress, in fact.
Can I point out an interesting
No, one
stat for
second.
your viewers?
I just want to bring in Pradeep Bhandari. Pradeep Bhandari.
10 seconds. And
One
Pradeep
second,
can
no,
please
Nikhil
respond to
Jain.
that.
We've had a lot of back and forth. Now let Pradeep Bhandari also speak. He's kept very silent. 7-8 minutes you have spoken. You've been cross-interrogated by Mr. Seth. You've been, called out by Dr. Ranganathan. Yes. Now, so Mr. Bhandari, how do you respond to Mr. Nikhil Jain, who says that, look, you guys are rigging, fixing, you've shaken the faith of the opposition in the system. Please respond.
Well, Rahul, I've stopped taking my dear friend Nikhil very seriously because I do not have to just suspend belief, but we have to dismiss belief when it comes to Nikhil Jain and the Congress party. Well, I will just state certain facts because your show says hard facts. Fact number one, recall this visual from the Panchayat polls in Bengal, which were conducted on ballot. And booths were looted and the ballot boxes were carried from one panchayat to the other. That is the last incident we saw. Point number two, in April 2024, Justice Sanjeev Khanna and Dipankar Datta's bench dismissed a petition which said that 100% VVPAT should be verified. It said that it is wrong in an age of technology. Per assembly, only 5 VVPAT verification is fine. In November 2024, the Supreme Court says, and I quote, if you win, EVMs are fine. If you lose, the EVMs are tampered with. I believe that the issue here is that both the Chief Minister and the Deputy Chief Minister are trying to please Rahul Gandhi because there is a tug of war going between the two. And both of them knows that this will not last long. So one is trying to please Rahul Gandhi by not attending German Chancellor's event. The other is trying to please Rahul Gandhi by having the cabinet approve and recommend it to the State Election Commissioner, who, by the way, is not appointed by a 3-member committee which Rahul Gandhi calls about and says it is appointed only by the Karnataka government, where they do not see any bias. But let us leave it at that point. Last point. I believe that Sohail Seth, Anand Ranganathan and me myself will clap for Congress party if Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Vadra resign, because both of them have won their Lok Sabha elections on an EVM. And today the Congress party is saying that Rajiv Gandhi was wrong because it was Mr. Rajiv Gandhi who 1984 to 89 was the first votary of EVM. So admit either Rajiv is wrong, and if Mr. Rajiv Gandhi is wrong, then say that Rahul and Priyanka should resign because both of them have won their elections on EVM. Set the precedent. Do not do this drama in order to become the next Chief Minister of Karnataka for time being in order to please Rahul Gandhi. This is nothing. I don't take it seriously. It is please Rahul Andolan going between the CM and the Deputy CM.
So, Mr. Nikhil Jain, let me enlarge the scope of that question. You've been on this channel, and so is another friend of yours, Mr. Jha, your mentor. Now, whenever I bring up this issue, of the BJP doing well electorally, you turn around and tell me, but they've only won 40% of the elections, vote share of the elections. So 60% of India, willy-nilly, 55% of India votes against them. How do we come to this figure?
By looking at the voter turnouts and vote shares and the
Yes,
summaries.
because someone has pressed those buttons and voted. So those votes are valid. 55% people who vote against Modi are valid voters, confirming that Modi actually doesn't enjoy support across the length and breadth of this country. Now, that statistic is agreeable to them.
So for your show, The Hard Facts, can I point out the hard facts to your viewers? Germany, France, Italy, Spain, Netherlands, Belgium, Norway, Denmark, Finland, Switzerland, Austria, Poland, Czech Republic, Ireland, Portugal, Greece, Romania, and a bunch of other countries. Most states in the United States, Japan, South Korea, Malaysia, Singapore,
What is the
South
point? Yeah,
Africa.
what is the
These
point?
are
This
all,
is like a visa
Australia.
list.
These are all countries. No.
Again, a factual
These are all the
inaccuracy, my
countries
dear
where we
friend.
can't get into
When
without
the United States of
where there's
America
no
was
visa on arrival,
conducting
but
its
that's not the
election,
point.
you had individuals
You
from
don't
the
even have
United States of
digitization in
saying that
America.
you should
Can
learn
I-
from the Indian
How often
EVM
do you
process.
travel to
Rahul,
America?
you can't have me be interjected by three people at the same time.
Nikhil,
I'm
come
one
on.
person defending a stand against
Okay, let
four
me
people.
start by
At least give
interacting
me
you.
that fair
How
opportunity.
often?
You are
How
Rahul
often do
Gandhi
you
of
go
the
to
panel.
America?
You are
Mr.
Rahul
Seth.
Gandhi
How
of the
often do you
panel.
go to
सब
America?
मिले हुए हैं.
Rahul,
One
Rahul,
minute.
I can't have
Pradeep,
four
Pradeep.
people interject me. I'm
I'm
Nikhil,
not
the one
Nikhil.
person
interjecting you, I'm
taking this
listening.
view.
Nikhil,
For a change.
Nikhil,
Oh,
how
very well,
often do you go to the
for a
US?
change.
Nikhil, how often do you go to the US?
I don't, sir,
So then,
but I don't
please,
need to go
I
to the
do. Let me
US.
tell you, the United States is digitally poor. They are
Very well,
unable
sir.
to. Have you forgotten the Al
All
Gore
right,
George W. Bush
Netherlands,
issue that happened with the chats?
sir.
You were too young, or
Can I
perhaps
please?
not born then.
Can I, can I please complete my point for the show? Hard facts. Germany, Netherlands, Ireland, Norway, and France are those
Okay.
countries which have gone back from an EVM to a ballot paper.
Let me
All the
respond to
previous
that.
countries that
Yeah,
I
let him
listed
respond. Let
are
him
countries-
respond.
No,
Let him
they do
respond.
not have a
Doctor.
You have to
standalone
at least
EVM
let
like
me
Respond.
complete.
Indian
You have
Election
to-
Commission, Indian Election
Now, this
Commission.
is a very unfair debate if you
Okay,
carry
respond,
it like this.
respond.
There
Let
are
him
three
respond,
gentlemen
sir.
taking one stand. I'm the lone person on this side. You'll have to get me the time to at least reply to things. India, Nepal,
also
and
like
Bhutan are the
you.
only
I'm also
countries
alone.
using EVM.
Okay.
India, Bhutan, and
Would you
Nepal
like
are
to
the only
respond,
countries using
Doctor?
an EVM
Would
right
you
now.
like to
And
respond to
Narasimha
him
Rao.
quickly? I need to
Na-
move on also.
And
Yes.
GVL Narasimha Rao wrote
Okay.
an entire
Yes,
book on
yes,
how
yes.
EVMs
And
are a
that's
threat to
when
democracy in
Mr.
2010.
Tiwari
Did the
and
BJP
that's when
resign?
Dr. Singhvi came out and told him to shut up, basically. Yes, doctor.
I heard Nikhil about 2 minutes ago. Now, it's no use him saying that, look, there is one irrational person, there are four rational people. Please give irrational person more time. The fact of the matter is that the EVMs of America are different from the EVMs of India. You're not putting this point across. They
Yes.
are connected to the internet. Our EVMs
I
are
am
not
saying they're
connected.
conducted
Why didn't
by
you mention
ballot
that point?
papers.
Anyhow, I'll tell you,
Why did you
viewers,
not
the
mention
next
that point?
time,
Most
the
states
next
in the
time
US
the
conduct
Congress will
elections by
say,
ballot
because
papers,
in
by
a certain
EVMs.
pocket of America,
standalone
they
device,
don't
Nikhil.
ask you to show their identity cards, let's get rid of identity cards also. And I remember, viewers, that certain people have even come up and said this. So that will be the next step. Because they do it in America, you see. So we must still be following
Forget
Western
America, the
Western
entire
powers and
world.
so on and so forth.
The
Anyhow,
entire
viewers,
world
look,
has a
I mean,
Rahul,
if
the
Rahul
vice
Gandhi has such a
president
problem
Congress
with EVMs, as Suhail Seth has said, ask your three governments to resign, step down from your Lok Sabha positions and exit. And let someone else do the job for you. Let me move on, viewers. Let me move on, because this is an interesting story that is sparking a massive conversation. Global icon and Indian composer Rahman says he's getting less work and hints it might be because of his religion. Because Bollywood has taken, he suggests, a communal turn. He says, and I quote, "I was always an outsider in Hindi cinema. I have never faced prejudice directly. Maybe God shielded me. In recent years, power has shifted to non-creative people. It would be communal bias, but it is never said to my face. Projects are promised and quietly given to others. I would rather spend time with my family than be bitter. We must rise above small-mindedness and selfishness. Art transcends religion. That's what India should represent." It's a serious charge in a deeply polarized moment. But tonight the question is whether this is an honest grievance or an opportunistic reach for viewers' identity card to stay relevant. Rahman himself admits he never faced prejudice directly, that God may have shielded him, that no one said anything to his face. Yet the suggestion is left hanging that religion, not relevance, may explain fewer projects. Now, this is coming from a composer who has worked consistently in Hindi cinema for decades across genres, banners, and I'll show you the list of films and other great work he's done. Political dispensations have come and gone. Let's put it out. The record shows regular releases year after year, some successes, some forgettable, but a lot of work nevertheless. It's a whole list which Director Saab was waiting to put out, and there it is, viewers, all of those names. All of those names, all of those movies, all of those credits, some good, some bad. Naturally. And if on cue, the opposition is dialed up victimhood, the opposition has come out and said that, look, yes, Rahman is right. There is now an increasing communalization in Bollywood too. While the opposition outrages and fearmongers, the fact is that Bollywood has changed. Tastes have shifted. Maybe new composers have come to dominate playlists. So this may not really be about communalism. It might just be a lurch towards something fresh and new. And therefore, Mr. Rahman finds himself a little irrelevant in the current scheme of things. Is that the case? Is he being opportunistic? Let's open this up, viewers. Let's ask some questions. Advait Kala, author, who is works closely with Bollywood, is here with us. So is Nasir Abdullah. Nasir Abdullah is also there with us. Advait Kala, what do you make of this?
Well, the grievance economy is alive and kicking. You know, if someone of an iconic stature like A.R. Rahman feels the need to dip his hand into that jar, then I think it's hugely problematic. For the simple reason that this is somebody who has succeeded for decades, not for a year, not for 2 years, but for decades, and had such longevity in a notoriously fickle profession. So I think for him to, get into this kind of grievance and victimhood at his level, at his stage in his career, is just sad, and it reeks of opportunism. There could be so many other reasons for this. Movies have not been doing that well in the last couple of years. We're all aware of that. Budgets have shrunk. He's very, very expensive, and he has certain work requirements. It is a well-known fact, at least it has been in the past, that A.R. Rahman decides which films he wants to compose for and which he doesn't. He's actually chooses as opposed to being chosen. So this all comes as a real surprise. Could there be a slide in career fortunes? They could. But a slide in career fortunes for an A.R. Rahman is to be the music director alongside Hans Zimmerman in the most expensive film that Bollywood is making at the present time, Raman. That is his career slide. So, I mean, it's this level of privilege that has isolated him so much that he goes out there and just dips into this jar of grievance and thinks that this is going to work because the receiver of that information is no one other than the BBC. So let's look at it in its entirety. Highly objectionable, highly avoidable comment from someone of his stature.
Okay, let me bring in Nasir Abdullah. Nasir Abdullah, communal Bollywood working against minority interests. Can you hear me? Nasir Abdullah, are you there with us? Are you connected? Okay.
Yep.
Can you hear me, sir? What would you have to say to Advait Kala? Is Bollywood communal? Is it biased against A.R. Rahman? Is there a problem?
Very well.
Can you hear me?
I'm having a problem with the audio.
Okay, hang on. Let me bring in Nikhil Jain on this point. Nikhil Jain.
Rahul, so somehow when people who lean and align with the BJP say that they've been discriminated against Bollywood, it somehow becomes an expose. But when A.R. Rahman, a legend not just in India but in the world, says that, it somehow becomes very suspect and opportunistic. I don't see this double standard. You may or may not agree with this view, but that cannot be a reason to vilify him or his family or attack him. But that is sadly what the right-wing ecosystem is doing right now. You have one voice saying that I may have faced discrimination on communal grounds. You have another voice saying I haven't faced it. Now everybody has the right to share their own lived experiences and what they feel. I don't really know why is the BJP going hammers and tongs up. But we actually all do.
BJP not going hammers and tongs. I mean, there are many people like Shan, there's Javed Akhtar.
The ecosystem.
There are several. I don't know what. I have not said anywhere ecosystem. I've not said nothing.
No,
I've
only said the BJP ecosystem.
Should we? Hang on, 1 second. I mean, are you talking about this channel? Because there's no one saying anything. We haven't even got a BJP person. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Not you.
Yeah. So don't bring your paranoias and all your persecution complexes here. The point is very simple. That a man has come out and suggested that he's not getting work, Dr. Ranganathan, because he happens to be from a minority community. He gets that sense, he says, though he's personally never faced it. Though the insinuation is damaging enough, or are we all imagining this? Javed Akhtar has a different view. He's also Muslim. He's also from the minority community. Kangana Ranaut has a different view. Shan has a different view.
No, look, I mean, I think Advaita is absolutely right. And, to give him his due, Mr. Nasser Abdullah isn't blaming bigotry or communalism just because he's out of work. So I think A.R. Rahman is completely wrong here. Two questions out here. Number one, why did he say this? And two, whatever he said, was it based on facts? Now, Nikhil says, well, he has his rights. He is within his rights to say whatever he wants to say. Fair enough. But a person like Rahman, who Advaita made it a point to inform the world that is right now going to work in the most expensive Indian film ever made. Now, would you call that out of work? Would you call someone being denied work because of his religion? So, Nikhil, you need to really, have some sense when you talk about things that are not based on facts. Yes, you can base whatever you want to say on opinion. But again, to say that ecosystem is saying this, is Javed Akhtar in this so-called Hindutva ecosystem? Is Shobha Day in this so-called ecosystem? Are other people who've refuted Rahman's claim are in the ecosystem? Second point, and that's important. I don't deny that there is cancel culture, although this has got nothing to do with it. But the fact of the matter is the pioneers and the peddlers of cancel culture are the left. Yes, the right wing also makes a hue and cry about it, but the fact of the matter is many people simply ignore it. For example, I differ in a lot of views with Swara Bhaskar, if at all you can call what she says her views. But I don't stop buying Harpic because I disagree with her views. What is Harpic's fault or what is my toilet's fault? So you have to think about these things rationally. You don't have, I don't know why Advaita is laughing. But the fact of the matter is, you got to think about this rationally. If you are out of work, could it be because your work is no longer appreciated? That doesn't mean that your work is not worthy of appreciation. Of course it is. Rahman is a legend. But maybe the new generation is looking for some other work that it no longer appreciates Rahman's amazing work. I do.
Yeah. Many people don't listen to Elvis Presley or even Bob Dylan, though both of them are legends. One is the king of rock and roll. The other man just won a Pulitzer for the greatest.
I don't appreciate Choli ke piche kya hai, but that's Nikhil Jain's favorite song.
Yeah, but okay. Let me just bring in Mr. Nasir Abdullah. Mr. Abdullah, what do you make of what Mr. A.R. Rahman has said?
I'll tell you. Okay, here's the deal. I agree with Javed Akhtar over his observation of this whole thing, that it is wrong for him to say that unless he's got hardcore evidence. So here is the deal. What happens to everybody, it happened to Amitabh Bachchan, to all the artists in every field, dance, drama, music, whatever. Most of them, they go through a downward phase. So Amitabh was literally begging for work once upon a time when he was actually in debt because he made, and I went through the same thing. Of course, I'm nowhere near Rahman, who's an icon, absolutely, a very gifted music director and all. I went through my slump and I couldn't believe it. I thought it was on automatic. I was just actually getting a lot of work on automatic, and I was the Badshah of advertising films. And then there comes a time, and I was told by the ad filmmaker, he said, the client is saying they want someone like Nasir Abdullah, that's me, but not Nasir Abdullah. So it was a backhanded compliment and a rejection, and I had to face it. I understood perfectly what this meant, and without any whatever, it's okay. So either you have to change your look or you have to change your work, the kind of stuff you do. But then here is another deal. Rahman is an extremely expensive music director to hire. And here is the deal. Many people in the business can give you what A.R. Rahman can give you for half the price, a quarter of the price. It's a fact. It was a fact in the advertising film industry and otherwise. So here is so that's another reason. But I want to give him the benefit of doubt. I want to say, if he's saying that, it needs to be investigated. We need to ask him, what is your source of information of making that sort of a hint.
Right.
It's
So
not an
I think what,
allegation. He has
Doctor,
hinted on
what
it. He has
Nasir
said
Abdullah
maybe.
is referring to is AI Rahman, saying that AI Rahman would charge half the price or a quarter of the price, not AR Rahman. But anyhow, the point is, viewers, I really feel that this is, once again, one of those hit jobs. This is gaslighting of the worst kind. And, sometimes people feel obliged to be on certain platforms and say certain things, which might be very amenable to audiences that watch that platform. And who knows, viewers, maybe someone goaded him into saying this. One would hope so, because I don't really want to go back in time, but we had the case of Amir Khan, his redoubtable wife at that time, and saying that, look, we can't live in India.
That deal was boycotted by the BJP ecosystem, and that's the point I was making. You can disagree with Rahman, doesn't mean you have to be harsh on him or his family. That's exactly what I said.
Hello, where have you woken up from? No, one second. The point is, viewers, just 1 second, Nikhil, 1 second. No, 1 second. No one is being, the point is, viewers, I remember this some years ago when Amir Khan came out. I think this was in 2016 or something like that, very much after Mr. Modi coming into power. And he sat with his wife. It was some sort of a movie release or something or the other. It was a press conference, and he said that, look, it's become very dangerous for us to live in India, and I tell Kiran that, or Kiran tells me, or what have you, that the time has come for us to leave this country. Well, at the end of the day, of course, his wife left him, but that's a whole different
issue. She didn't say that. She said, shall we leave the country?
The problem is, viewers,
he quoted her.
Oh, he quoted
her.
Right. He quoted. Great.
Her.
See, that's why we have you. That's why we have you on the show.
He quoted her. He quoted her. She was afraid.
Yeah, she
so
was.
you are twisting it around.
No.
You're twisting it around. Don't do that.
Remember.
Please.
I said I can't quite remember.
Okay,
Thank you for correcting me. Thank you for correcting me.
I know. I can remember.
He was quoting. Good. I'm glad.
I can remember.
That's why we have you, sir, on the hard facts. The man with the hard facts. Okay. Now, here, viewers, is the problem. The problem is that both Amir Khan and Kiran Rao are both in India, and they're doing very well. So clearly, we have a situation now where identity is supplanting everything. So you play the identity card, whether it's in politics, whether it's your office place, whether it is in any other, even in the sports field now. You put your pronouns in front, and you think that you're going to get an easy ride. That's not going to happen, viewers. Merit remains supreme. And the market only rewards merit. It's a cruel place. Dr. Ranganathan would call it Darwinian economics or what have you. It is. It is very, very brutal. I leave it at this, but viewers, the next conversation is an important one, and let's go straight across. Viewers, from Gaza to Greenland, President Donald Trump appears to be redrawing the rules of power unilaterally. A US-led Gaza Board of Peace that sidelines traditional multilateralism and renewed talk of asserting American control over Greenland have rattled allies and raised a bigger question. Is Washington normalizing territorial politics once again? If the United States, in a sense, bends sovereignty to suit its own strategic convenience, does it weaken the global order it once enforced? And does also, in a way, it embolden rivals like China and Russia to do the same? As you know, friends, the United States has invited India to be part of this Gaza Board of Peace. India is now left with a piquant choice: to sign on or to risk saying no. Joining us is George Friedman, one of the world's foremost geopolitical forecasters, to assess whether this moment marks strategic realism or dangerous unilateralism. And also, of course, looking at it slightly from India's perspective. Thank you, Mr. Friedman. I want to ask you, India finds itself now in a situation where it has been invited, like a few other countries, to the Gaza Board of Peace. In the background is also a move by the Trump administration to annex Greenland, as it were. I'm not saying by force, but certainly there is a move to assert a certain territorial propriety over Greenland and, in a sense, over Gaza. How do countries like India react? Specifically, a country like India that is so close to the Gulf and obviously enjoys ties with other Gulf partners.
Well, I think what you have to understand is India itself has territorial issues with a number of countries and asserts its national interest. And that's as it should be. Your leadership does what it has to do. From the American point of view, the old world order is obsolete. The Cold War ended. The American entanglement in the Eastern Hemisphere, where we fought wars from North Korea to Vietnam to Afghanistan and so on, is not necessary. We do not have a major rival in the Soviet Union. And so we are focusing in on the United States and its interests. And its fundamental interest is in the Western Hemisphere, and to a great extent in changing an economic system internationally that was built around the Cold War that made it very favorable for other nations to join the United States as a tool, and it's changing. Therefore, when geopolitical realities change, so do the behavior of nations, and so do principles. It's shocking because norms of the last 80 years since 1945 are being violated, but a new era is arising, and the United States, so in some ways very dramatically, wants to rush that change.
What does Greenland tell Europe about how Washington now views its allies, partners, or pressure points?
Well, there has been serious questions for many years about our alliances. Many people said outside the United States is an imperialist power. We feel that the Europeans, the EU's economy is larger than the Chinese economy, are certainly capable of caring for themselves, dealing with the Ukraine issue. We are trying to defend the hemisphere because now there's dangers of polar attacks and so on and so forth, and Greenland is important. Why he wants to own it, I must say I don't understand. We have an alliance and it works, and the Europeans allow us full access. So that part I can't tell you. But the fact is that the old alliance system was based on the Cold War. The Cold War is over. We are in the process of evolving in the United States, and therefore, since we're the most powerful country in the world, the global system. It's going to change, and it is changing.
Now, what's funny from an Indian perspective is that Trump, for example, has invited Putin to join this Gaza Board of Peace. And also, of course, when it looks at Gaza from a unilateral prison, it seems to be weakening its own argument for a rule-based order. And when it invites Putin, it reeks of hypocrisy because it punishes India for purchasing oil from Russia. So there is this intrinsic, weird, unilateral, hypocritical behavior.
Well, the world is reshaping itself. The anchor of the world had been, as I said, the US-Soviet rivalry. The Russians and Ukraine have shown that they are not a major military power. They have not been able to take Ukraine over the past 4 years. Therefore, we must modify our relationship. India itself has become a very important country in the world. It's no longer in any way a third world country, as we used to say. India has emerged as a powerful economic force, a significant military force, and a regional force. And therefore, it is natural that the United States would want to redefine its relationship with India. The reality of India has changed. To some extent, the reality of the world has changed. Therefore, new norms must be created. And the United States looks at India and looks at China. It does not want to have conflicts with either. One of the things that's happening now is I think the United States and China are reaching some sort of accommodation and will in the next year end the military hostility, and each side must limit the economic problems. And therefore, this moment, India is less critical. As for Putin being invited to join this Gaza thing, what can we say? I mean, when the world sees the United States opposing a country, he criticizes the United States for that. When the United States tries to make an accommodation with a country like Russia, inviting it to this, along with the Indians, it doesn't understand what's going on. I think we have to understand that the world is dramatically changing. And we say that lots of times on many things, but the geopolitical system of the world is shifting dramatically because Soviet Union is no longer a major global power. It is a very strong regional power. China, the United States, these are the two great countries that economically and potentially militarily. So this is a new system, and the norms that are the past are obsolete.
Okay, so in this new system, when the US stretches sovereignty norms, when it eyes territory, etc., does it forfeit the moral leverage to restrain Russia or China? And are we going to see Beijing and Moscow perhaps take this as strategic permission, especially on Taiwan and even Ukraine?
I don't think the Chinese need our permission to do what they want to do, and the Russians certainly didn't need our permission to invade Ukraine. Therefore, territorialism, when you speak about it, is a commonplace thing for other nations. The United States is also practicing it. So the question then is, does China have the power, the ability, the military capability of occupying Taiwan? One of the messages of Ukraine is that great powers or think themselves great, sometimes show themselves not to be so great. After 4 years, they've only taken a fraction, Russia's only taken a fraction of Ukraine. So that's a warning to Taiwan as well as an invitation.
So let me ask you, have we entered an era where control of land, choke points and territory matters perhaps more than institutions, especially multilateral institutions like the United Nations? Is the era of the United Nations and the concord of peace over now?
It never was in place. The fundamental wars that were fought between nations were rarely settled by the United Nations coming into it. The United Nations is a great idea. It was never a great power. So what I'm saying is that we have to understand that choke points and all these things were always important. During the Cold War, during the Pacific War, this is not new. The new pattern emerges where certain things are more important than others than they used to be. But on the other hand, nations always worried about territories. India always worried about security for its territory. India fought China over this question, Pakistan, and so on. So this sort of concern is not strange. It might be strange that the United States is more involved in this point, but this is a normalization of the situation.
Yes, I mean, that's the subject of this debate. Is US normalizing unilateralism? And if it ends up doing so, will that lead to a conflagration? Can this sort of so-called stability that we've seen after the Second World War sustain?
Well, that stability we've seen included many wars for the United States. It was seen as stable, but you forget how many wars from South Korea to Vietnam and so many wars in the Eastern Hemisphere the U.S. fought. And now the United States wishes to somewhat withdraw from the world, to leave itself less responsible for the world's order and allow the world to take care of itself. So the last 80 years was not, from the American point of view, a time of orderliness. It was a time of fear of nuclear war, of hostility with the Soviet Union, with competing with the Soviet Union in the former European empires. So when we look at this period from the American point of view, it was a period of great danger and many casualties of our troops. The United States wants to withdraw from this, and that is a change in the world order. but it's also an opportunity for the Eastern Hemisphere in particular to find a new order, that the Europeans should deal with the Ukrainians, not the Americans, that the US can find an understanding with China, perhaps. So when you look at the situation, the reality has changed. The world was once anchored.
That's true. But Mr. Friedman, sorry to butt in. I just want to ask you this because it's important to this conversation. If Trump keeps pushing the envelope now, as he has in Venezuela and perhaps in Greenland, who knows, or in Gaza and this, that, the other, are we going to see China doing the same? And if so, are we going to see a world conflagration? Are we going to see some sort of a massive conflict between great powers?
I have not seen that. One of the extraordinary things in the last 80 years was there was never a war between the United States and Russia directly. It avoided it. At the same time, the question is not whether US and China, who are great powers, will be hostile, but can they form an accommodation? The United States never formed an accommodation with the Soviet Union. Therefore, the prior period was always very dangerous. The United States may be able to form an accommodation with China, and that would create some more order. So I don't see the last 80 years as very orderly from an American point of view, nor even from an Indian point of view. It was a time of evolution, change, stress. So is this. But it's now different in its appearance because the Soviet Union is no longer the major rival of the United States.
Finally, and once again, trying to circle back and elicit a very direct response, is this the start of a more dangerous world?
I have not seen it as a more dangerous world because I've seen it for the last 80 years, since 1945. It's a very dangerous world. The world is continuing to be dangerous. It is the nature of nations to fight wars with each other, be afraid of each other, compete with each other, and so on. So I don't see the last period that you look back on as the way you do. I see it as a very dangerous place. I think this is somewhat less dangerous, but still there is going to be a very different change and it'll concern people.
Dr. Friedman, thank you very much for taking the time out to speak with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Actor-turned-politician and TVK chief Vijay has left the CBI headquarters in the national capital after 7 hours of questioning. Remember, this was his round 2 of questioning in the Karur stampede case. This questioning pertains to the stampede tragedy that claimed 41 lives in Karur in Tamil Nadu during one of his election rallies. Several questions were put forth by CBI sleuths to Vijay, including the 7-hour delay of him reaching the venue. TVK and Vijay had claimed that there were bottlenecks that were put in place by the state government, which is why he arrived late. That's something that he was confronted with. Video evidence from that day is also something that the CBI sleuths confronted Vijay with. 7 hours of questioning this time around. Round 1 was over 6.5 hours. It is a complete marathon questioning that the CBI has been putting Vijay through. Arunima, my colleague, now joins us. She's been tracking the developments from outside the CBI headquarters all this morning. For now, the questioning is over. Round 2. Is there going to be a round 3, Arunima?
So his team claims that Vijay has not been summoned for tomorrow. We have not heard from the CBI on this as yet. The indications are that after going through the evidence, all that Vijay has said today, the investigating officer is going to examine and then take a call about the next course of action. Now, the party General Secretary, Joint General Secretary Nirmal Kumar just briefed the media and said that pro-DMK media channels are spreading rumours and canards about Vijay. It is wrong to say that Vijay is now being treated as a suspect or that he's going to be named in the charge sheet. So his party is putting up a brave front. rejecting all charges, still maintaining that Vijay is cooperating with CBI, that he has not sought any kind of extension except for when Pongal was round the corner, and that he's cooperating, and CBI is appreciating that. But this is the version of Vijay's own party colleagues, his own team members. Officially, we have not heard from CBI. However, sources indicate that CBI has today put some tough questions to Vijay, asking him to provide evidence against the district administration, because the district administration has given to CBI video evidence saying Vijay and his party was to be blamed for the loss of lives.
Now, we've heard the politics that's happened on the sidelines, but as far as TVK's defense goes, they've put the blame squarely on the local administration and the police for whatever transpired. These bottlenecks is something that Vijay had also spoken of. That's something that he was confronted with during his questioning today?
That's what we learned by way of sources. And as I'm speaking to you, just want to show you the end of this road. This road here, once again, a lot of Vijay supporters coming into CBI. The main road there, that's the main road. The main carriageway also is seeing heavy traffic. And in the foreground here are some people who are Vijay supporters wanting to come and know what came of the CBI's questioning today. But that aside, you were asking about the bottleneck. The reason I showed you these scenes outside CBI, we're talking about Delhi, where the fan following of Vijay number-wise might be less. And think about Tamil Nadu, where he has such a huge fan following. The allegation from the local administration in Tamil Nadu is that he should have kept in mind that moving from Trichy to Karur, he would face fans who would want to have a glimpse of him. He did not keep that in mind and is now unnecessarily blaming the administration. Second, the claim by Tamil Nadu police is Vijay on his way from Trichy spent 2 hours when his carcade was not moving. So the allegation is that he took a break, he was resting for 2 hours while the crowd was waiting in sweltering heat, getting dehydrated. So the administration and the police can't be blamed for this decision that Vijay took. The blame must squarely rest with him and his organizers.
Well, the TVK and the state government, they're trading charges during the CBI questioning. Several people have been questioned, not just Vijay, but several police officers have been questioned by the CBI as well to try and piece together what exactly transpired and who should be held responsible for the loss of those 41 lives. For the moment, though, Arunima, thank you so much for getting us the latest.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Actor-turned-politician and TVK chief Vijay has left the CBI headquarters in the national capital after 7 hours of questioning. Remember, this was his round 2 of questioning in the Karur stampede case. This questioning pertains to the stampede tragedy that claimed 41 lives in Karur in Tamil Nadu during one of his election rallies. Several questions were put forth by CBI sleuths to Vijay, including the 7-hour delay of him reaching the venue. TVK and Vijay had claimed that there were bottlenecks that were put in place by the state government, which is why he arrived late. That's something that he was confronted with. Video evidence from that day is also something that the CBI sleuths confronted Vijay with. 7 hours of questioning this time around. Round 1 was over 6.5 hours. It is a complete marathon questioning that the CBI has been putting Vijay through. Arunima, my colleague, now joins us. She's been tracking the developments from outside the CBI headquarters all this morning. For now, the questioning is over. Round 2. Is there going to be a round 3, Arunima?
So his team claims that Vijay has not been summoned for tomorrow. We have not heard from the CBI on this as yet.
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Donald Trump is blackmailing Europe. He says sell Greenland or face more tariffs. Tonight we look at how far Washington is prepared to go and what are Europe's options. One of them is called the bazooka. It's an $8 trillion sell America plan because Europe is America's biggest investor. What happens if the EU pulls the plug? Also, this episode is a lesson for all. You cannot appease or reason with a bully. You must stand up to them. Tonight, we'll bring you a 4-part playbook on handling Donald Trump. Meanwhile, in Iran, the threat of war still looms. The US military buildup in West Asia is intense.